Okay, I wanted to try something. I don't know if you guys will be into it, but I thought we could do a couple group breaths together to start the meeting. So if you can, go ahead and close your eyes. Don't do it if you are driving or shopping or generally in public. And I'm going to take breaths. You can take yourself off mute if we want to listen to all our breaths, but you don't have to. And then I'm going to breathe in through my nose. I'm going to hold it at the top for like half a second and then breathe out through my mouth. And I'm going to do that 3 times. Okay. Okay, when you're ready, we're going to go through roll call. This time we're going to do a little bit of a different icebreaker, a little bit more abstract. I thought we could do a fill in the blank. So the first part of the sentence is, I am a commitment to blank. And you can fill it in however literally or abstractly you want. I'll start and then Kelly will go ahead and call on people. So I'm Jackie and I am a commitment to living at the extremes, or maybe not so extreme, of joy and rage.
All right, let's go with Leslie next.
Oh, wow. I'm committed to the well-being of others.
Akia.
I am committed to my family.
Andrew.
Present, committed to breathing fresh air.
Joanne.
Hi, I'm committed to growing things.
Julie.
Hi, everyone. I'm Julie. I'm committed to, I don't know how to say this, racial and economic justice for North Minneapolis.
Beautiful. Lene.
Hi, I'm Lene, and ever since I moved to Minnesota, I'm committed to getting people to share their talents and not be afraid to speak up and to brag a little and to not be so modest about their gifts and contributions.
Michelle.
Sorry, my dogs just started their barking as soon as you called on me. I am committed and so now I'm in the closet. I am committed to learning about justice and living with justice.
Vanessa.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Vanessa, and I'm committed to the creative mandate, which is leaving this world a better place by creating productive families, doing productive work, and looking for opportunities to bless others.
Jim.
Hi, I'm Jim. Somebody else said it as well. I'm committed to my family.
Anita.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Anita Rena Davis here. I am committed to my family and their future.
Lars.
Hey everybody, I'm just getting in here, so I kind of missed the introductions, but I gather we're talking about commitments. My name is Lars. I'm in Marshall Terrace, and I am committed to leaving more than I take, whether it be physical or emotional or things like that with communities. I want to give back more than I've taken, and that's it.
I think that is all the Green Zone Task Force members. Did I miss any Green Zone Task Force members? Then I can go into the guests. No? Okay. So first guest is Najma.
Hi, my name is Najma, and I'm committed to giving back to my community.
Thanks, Najma. Do you also want to introduce who you are, your connection?
Yeah, I'm currently an urban scholar working under the Health Department's Environmental Programs Division. So basically, I'm an intern.
Thanks, Najma. And you're working with Marquita. So
That
everyone
is
here
correct.
knows
Yep.
Marquita. Fatu?
Hello, my name is Fatu. I also have a similar role as Najma, so working with Marquita, and I worked with her last summer, so just continuing work. But I'm committed to just being like a good human and trying to put a smile on everyone's face in every way I can. So
Thank you. And Maisu?
Hi everyone, I'm also I'm the third urban scholars working with Marquita this summer, and I'm always committed to I'm committed to always learning.
And unless I missed someone, I'll round it out. So I'm Kelly, City of Minneapolis, and also West Phillips resident. I am committed to, I guess, advancing and sustainability in an equitable way. And then Julia, do you want to cap us off?
Sure, I believe Fox is on as well. But I can go. I'm Julia. I work for the city of Minneapolis, and I'm commitment to being mentally present when I'm physically present.
Thanks, Julia, and thanks for catching that. So,
Fox.
Yeah, Fox.
I didn't want to be the creepy person that hadn't said anything yet. Hi, Fox, they, them. I work at the MPCA, and I'm committed to loving and serving others.
Okay, I think that's everyone. I love all the responses. Okay, so today, let's go ahead and work on adopting the agenda. We're going to discuss possible in-person retreat, see how we're all feeling about that, especially with all the Delta variant stuff coming up. And then we're going to revisit and approve the group norms that were listed in, or that were created in 2019, several years ago. And then we're going to go through funding proposal pitches, and then there's some updates about community air monitoring projects. So, do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
I'll adopt the agenda. This is Lars.
If you also want to add approving the minutes from the 2 June
last
meetings.
Okay, so at the joint meeting, we basically spent most of the time in a discussion with MPCA and a couple of city folks, along with the Southside. And at the June 17th meeting, was when we approved our AUAR comment letter. So can I have a motion to adopt the minutes adopt the agenda and approve the previous minutes?
I will also approve motion to approve both of those things.
Second.
Nice. Okay.
All right. I will call roll. Joanne.
Yes.
Leslie,
Here.
do you approve the agenda and minutes?
I approve the agenda in minutes, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I'm in Twilight Zone over here.
You're good. Andrew,
Approve.
Lars,
Here, approve.
Lene,
Approve.
Michelle,
Approve.
Jackie,
Approve.
Anita,
Approve.
Akia,
Approve.
and Vanessa.
Yes.
Beautiful. So that motion carries and is adopted.
Nice. Okay, so now we're gonna do a quick temperature check, how everyone's feeling about an in-person retreat. If we wanted to have food, we would have to use our green zone funding because the city can't pay for food for board and commission meetings. So one, how are you feeling about in-person meetings in general? And two, how is everyone feeling about spending some of the green zone money on food and stuff for a retreat like that? And then did we want to go through roll call style, or do we want to do like a raise your hand discussion?
I think you should call roll
Yeah.
roll and let each person have their say. Yay, if they want to say something, they can. If they don't have to.
Works for me.
All right, I'll go in the same order of what I just called. So I'll start with Joanne, if you have any comments.
I'd be okay with meeting in person because I want to see all of you, as long as, we're practical about it. And I'm torn about spending green zone money on fun, but I'd be okay.
Thank you. Leslie, any comments?
I'm good with meeting everybody in person. I think it'll be a good experience for all of us just to see each other. And I'm cool with spending money to get food. And I hope it ain't Subway sandwiches.
Next is Andrew.
Yes, on meeting. I prefer if it was, outdoors would probably be most practical. I think we discussed that. And then good with putting some type of vote up there on just what type of food we would, but good with having those funds come from the group if it's all approved.
Lars.
I'm good with meeting in person. I'm not sure if I really got the entire context, if this would be a one-time thing or if we're going to try to transition to doing these meetings through the fall. Because I do think as things go forward, we're going to get back to major restrictions. So I don't think it'd be a sustainable solution, but I would love to meet everyone in person. And as far as food, I'm totally cool with that. I think everyone that's been committed to the green zone, it would be nice to have, kind of a little like celebration sort of food thing. But also just want to mention, like, I know there's several members on the green zone that have big gardens. I'm one of them. I have a huge garden, and I've literally just been giving away bags and bags of food to friends of mine. It'd be kind of cool if maybe members of the green zone that can and do garden could even just do like a potluck garden thing, roasted vegetables or something like that. I probably have enough myself to feed everybody on the green zone.
Can I say something?
Sure. Go ahead.
Can I make a comment on that? So due to COVID, cooking and feeding each other is not a good idea. They ask if you do things that you have the food catered in by a certified state licensed person. But now I think it would be nice if you had stuff from your garden that you wanted to come out and share, and people could take some and take it home and prepare it themselves. I think that would be pretty good. Nice.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Vanessa, do you want to continue with go ahead and just share your comments?
I'm for a meeting because I miss all you guys and I love to be in the same room. Preferably outside because of the new rise in the epidemic, that if you're inside a building with 50 or more people, you are required to wear a mask. So just know that if we're going to be inside and it's going to be 50 or more of us, we will need to wear masks, you guys.
And did you have any thoughts besides preferring catering for food about the spending of green zone funds on food?
I'm okay with that. Because remember, we didn't give all the funds out last year to save some back for operational purposes anyway. So this would be one of those times.
Great, thank you. Lene?
I vote yes for both, and I also will bring stuff from my garden. And yeah, I think it would be appropriate to use some money for that, and it'd be just really wonderful to see people in real life.
And the new baby.
And the baby.
Thank you. Michelle?
So I'm for the retreat. I guess I missed a conversation that led up to it though. So I guess I'm not exactly sure what it's going to look like, if it's a half a day or a full day. And I would rather that it be outside. And if it's inside, I would only come if we're all wearing masks. And then for the money, I guess it's frustrating to me that we would need to use our funds on something like this, as opposed to, the Upper Harbor Terminal group gets to have city funds spent on it for food. So that just frustrates me that there's different, different groups get access to that funding for food. So I'm kind of in between on that.
Can I comment on that?
The funding.
Can I comment on that?
The funding.
Michelle?
Can you hear me, Miss Vanessa?
No, I didn't hear you. But I was going to comment that the city did not spend money on food for us. That money was provided by the Green Environmental Justice Coordinated
McKnight Foundation.
Through them people. The city didn't pay for us to eat food. It's not allowed.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
It's the same money, so kind of like the McKnight Foundation, or I'm trying to think, or maybe it's not the McKnight Foundation. Actually, it was city money that was given to the Environmental Justice Coordinating Council to work on green zones and other stuff, and that's the money left over. And then, yeah, the McKnight money, I think, pays for the other learning tables.
So the grant that Michael wrote?
The grant that Michael's, it came from his idea. And then,
okay.
Yep.
And maybe a point of clarification to make as far as just what I think we're discussing would just be an in-person meeting. And, I think calling it a retreat is maybe more than what we had thought it would be. It's okay to call it that just because we'd all be getting together. But my understanding was it would just be more of an in-person meeting. And because we're all in person for the first time, it would be a bit of a celebration, not a half-day thing or anything like that.
Thank you, Andrew. Yeah, that's what I was on too, just a meeting.
Great. Michelle, did you have any other comments? Okay. Jackie?
I am for both, and like everyone else is saying, I would prefer outdoors as well.
Anita?
I'm good for wherever. Yeah, indoors, outdoors, it doesn't bother me either way. And for using the funds for feeding ourselves, if it's longer, my concern is only on the food part. If it starts in the morning, making sure we have juice, coffee, water, and something to sustain ourselves for the day. If it's just a couple hours, then whatever is appropriate, lunch or dinner.
Great. Akia?
For the most part, I'm alright with both as well, as long as the money is appropriated for operational usage and it's not too much. I feel like that's fine. And then as for the in-person meeting, I'm okay with it as well, but just pending how the situation changes or if it improves. But I'm okay for it.
Great. And then I also want to ask our staff folks on the task force, Julie and Jim, what are your thoughts? So maybe I'll start with Julie.
So, well, I don't have a opinion about paying for the food. I like food, but I think we could also, if there's a decision not to pay for food, we could each bring our own snacks or whatever, or bring stuff that's packaged. To Ms. Vanessa's point, I would be comfortable with an in-person meeting if it is outdoors. And for someone who was talking about us being indoors, just as a point of information, the city of Minneapolis staff are under a mask mandate, so everyone would have to wear a mask because we are conducting city business if we were indoors.
Yeah, thanks for that. I'm also realizing I skipped over Roxanne. So Roxanne, what are your thoughts?
Oh, I thought you were just coming back to me. I'm yes and yes. I mean, I'm down for eating some food. We haven't ate together in a long time. I think the money might have been coming from that money anyway. I'm not sure. But yes, and outdoor sounds good, and a garden sounds great, and all that good stuff. And real food sounds wonderful.
Awesome. Jim?
Probably pretty similar to what Julie said. I don't know if I have a strong opinion about the food. If the group wants to spend the money on it, I'm fine with that. I'm also fine with bringing my own food. And I'm okay with meeting in person, but of course, like many people had said, I would want to be outside, I guess, at this point.
Great. Well, it seems like there is definitely a consensus there amongst folks. So then maybe the discussion can shift over to kind of like when you would want to have this meeting. Do you want to have it as your next planned or scheduled meeting? And just a reminder, our September meeting would have fallen the day after Labor Day. So we've actually bumped it up a week, and it is scheduled for Tuesday, August 31st. So I don't know, that could also conflict with people's vacation schedules prior to kind of the school starting. So just want to add that context in. If you did want to discuss whether August 31st works for folks, or if you wanted to pick a different day, or if we realize that, August 31st doesn't even work for a meeting, for a normal meeting, I'll leave that. I'll hand it back to you, Jackie.
I think we would want to get it in sooner rather than later because we're in Minnesota and outdoor time vanishes rapidly.
Hey.
But August
How's it
31st
going?
is coming up.
Is it up?
No, I'm in drill, so I can get into
Hello-
this thing.
oh,
Okay.
someone's unmuted. I'm gonna mute you. But I don't know how inconvenient this would be to push that meeting back until September 14th. I don't know what that's like. Oh,
I would
shit.
second that for September 14th.
Vanessa looks like she's agreeing. Okay. Lene is out of town. August 31st. Okay. So how does everyone feel about in person September 14th? Kelly, Julia, does that sound like enough time for you guys to get the logistics figured out?
I will be on vacation September 14th, but if you all want to go forward and Julia's okay holding it down, I am happy to help do all of the prep work that would be needed.
I was okay with August 31st. And I know people got school and stuff, but I think that way we just get it together. And I was okay with grilling because I sat at restaurants. I see how people are in there and the cooking staff. I trust us if we're, I don't know, it's a personal thing to be vaccinated or whatever, but I think us washing the food and bringing the food, those that are vaccinated, if anybody doesn't have rejection, and just cook it there. I trust us more so than what I see in the restaurants. And that's just my personal opinion. And if everybody's cool with that, we can wash it, get a little pavilion thing and cook right there. Because everything will be fresh. Because even if we took it home or whatever, we're still cooking it. And I feel more trust here than I would in a person restaurant. Sorry, that's just me and my personal thing.
Yeah, I don't, just to maybe add to that, I feel like it's maybe an option and you know, for those comfortable could bring what, you know, depending on how we want to fund, but bring what you want to have cooked and we cook it there. Or if you're not comfortable with, you know, sharing food or having it prepared in the group setting, that's totally understandable. And, you know, I think maybe we could do one and option, not one or the other.
Sounds good.
You want to let's take a vote on that. I'm just saying because I know people have mixed feelings, but whichever package, even at who's ever cooking it's going to get a package, and I don't know. You know, I mean, we'll see each other washing hands and whatever. I just trust us more so to do it right in sight and have the food prepared. And I'm willing to come early, depending. But you know, it is what it is.
Michelle?
Can we just let people just do it if they want to, and then let people eat it if they want to? But like Andrew said, just have the option so we can get some food ordered and packaged safely, and then people can bring vegetables and eat other people's vegetables if they want to. Can we do both?
Possibly. Let's hear what Michelle has to say here.
Yeah, I just wanted to share that I was looking at our work plan the other day, and one of the things in there is to support our Northside plant-based businesses. And there are a number of those here, and Kelly and I and Roxanne, I'm sure we have a few people in this group that could help with that. So anyway, I just wanted to share that because I don't think we've had much of a chance in the last year and a half to do that.
Yep, that sounds good.
Can I weigh in here? I was going to suggest that if we do a vote to spend the money, that we do spend the money on the north side within the north side with some of the entrepreneurs there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely not Subway or Little Caesars Pizza.
Or Domino's.
that would leave Breaking Bread, Wendy's, Soul, and Sammy's, and probably
Broadway pizza.
a couple of other folks that don't necessarily have a restaurant, but they still have catering and stuff.
And
Yeah,
healthy, you guys. Let's try to get some healthy choices in there for people too.
Firebox. They got some good barbecue. Glendale.
Is it possible to put together like a little bit of a list there and we, I don't know, put tallies on after like via email just for the food portion? I don't know if that works, or I'm just thinking of logistics, how we get this planned and the right things in place in that by the 31st, and obviously to keep today's meeting going too. So I don't know, thoughts on an email list with suggestions and letting us kind of tally from there.
I like that.
Can send I was just gonna say I can send a list of the businesses that I know of, and maybe Kelly can add to that, and Roxanne could add any plant-based businesses that Roxanne knows of.
Pretty much, like, you could just ask people to make things that don't include dairy or meat, you know, like ask them to make salad, ask them to make beans, ask them to make rice. Like, we could do that sort of thing. Or, you know, some people said they wanted food, and food to me is like bean salad, you know what I'm saying? Like, but if people want chicken, they also got stuff like that too. So we should probably have, you know, more of a plant-based diet, then everybody can have an option.
Yeah, I was just suggesting one of the things that was in the work plan, which was to support a plant-based Northside business. So we don't have to, it was a suggestion.
Maybe we narrow it down and then have a vote from there. I'm just thinking of what, you know, to not have such an expansive list, but targeted within the, you know, like you're saying, Michelle, within the goals of our organization here. And then, you know, just seeing one that we can all agree on.
Do we just have like a couple of volunteers that want to work on the food portion of like the menu and the ordering, and then maybe just giving that back to the group on email and seeing what people say?
Sure. I feel like you guys kind of separated yourselves out through the conversation. Do you guys want to take the lead?
You tell I want to be in control of what we're eating right now? No,
Take it,
Roxanne, I
Roxanne.
think you got it. I think you got it.
But then if
I'll volunteer for that. Anybody could call me, hit me up after the meeting if you want to help.
Yeah, but I just want to be known if somebody wants to grill something, I'm okay on the grill. I can throw down on a grill, and I'm cool with it.
We gonna put you on the grill then.
Yeah, let's do the grill. I mean, I know how to throw down on the grill.
me a list
Vegetables
of
and everybody.
What about where we're gonna go? I mean, we could talk about that later too. Who's gonna be the team of coming up with that or whatever?
Yeah, if we settle on a date, Julia and I can work on making a reservation at a park in either north or northeast within the green zone.
A reservation? I thought we said garden maybe.
Oh yeah, I guess if it was a private property place or a garden, we could do that too.
Okay. So I guess people should send in their ideas for the garden places too.
Mm-hmm.
To Julie and Kelly.
Yeah, if you have ideas besides park spaces, send those to Julia and I.
Do we need to put it to a vote on the date to see if 31st works for a majority, or how do you want to proceed with just locking down a date?
Yeah, is there anyone else besides Lene who wouldn't be able to make August 31st? Not hearing anything.
I have a quick question. Besides the meeting, are we going to have activities, or are we just going to have a meeting and then everybody just bounce? Because if we're grilling and stuff, it seems like it's going to be a little bit more relaxed. Let's do a family gathering because we're Green Zone family. And I mean, Roxanne, Vanessa, Larson, They've been around for years and from the beginning. And it's like a community family to me, how I see it. And I look at each one of the prior people for leadership and guidance and through all these different things that we go through. And I'm very boisterous, but I just feel that we're kind of like a family and a community within ourselves. And to me, it's a special place, even though we argue and yell, but you guys mean something to me. And I just want that to be known. That's real.
Thank you. Maybe we could do an icebreaker. I mean, I don't want to volunteer for everything, but I love this type of shit. So whoever wants to come up with like, maybe, I don't know. I don't know how long we're meeting together. I thought it was a meeting, but if it's not a meeting and it's just a gathering to maybe reflect and just chill, then we just set up maybe an amount of time that we're willing to give, because then we can think about, I mean, I don't know, are we doing an agenda where we're leaving space for that sort of thing? Like, or are we just come as you go, leave as you go?
So I was thinking of mostly just hanging out, maybe doing some like brainstorming and goal setting and kind of some of these like big picture things that we don't necessarily get the chance to talk about during a normal meeting because we always have guests and stuff. But also I just really want to meet everyone in person. But maybe we could do like, so instead of doing just a leadership meeting, we could do I'm going to do air quotes again, a retreat planning meeting with the leadership team and whoever else wants to be involved with planning that meeting. And we could take care of these details there.
Yes. Sounds fun.
Right, for activities. Yeah, that sounds like a plan. So everybody can kind of chill because we've been locked down and tensions and things happening over north and there's, it's just so much and people just need to kind of like relax and say, hey, we're still here. And I get it, Jackie, but in a more like a relaxing mode and maybe a couple of relaxing activities. If we do a park or whatever, I'm thinking a couple of canoes and things and just chill like that. We're going to spend some green zone money. Let's do something just to really totally relax so we can get back in the groove of things. Because we're going to be here for a while and we're going to always have issues and things to deal with. But we just need a day to a combination. I feel would be good. That's just me.
Okay, so it sounds like the plan is August 31st, and then there'll be some follow-up emails.
And we'll reach out to Roxanne and Michelle on that committee and with our deals. And let's keep
September. It's not September 14th. Am I tripping?
Can you not do August 30? So it's scheduled right now for August 31st, but
okay. No, I can do it. I just want to make sure I'm not.
We want Kelly there.
I know. I was just thinking. I know she don't mind. She here all the time.
I don't mind. I know. Yeah, because I also will be sad if Lene can't make it. So that is, I'll leave that up to her.
Face chat.
I mean, is it? I feel like if we keep going through dates, we're always going to miss someone. But is it worth discussing later into September, or is it better to just get this in August? It's worth, I thought, at least bringing it up.
I mean, Kelly's on vacation, so she's gonna be fine. I'm not being mean to Kelly. Kelly knows I love her ass dearly, so I'm just saying. I feel like I don't know. We'll miss you, Kelly, too. So I don't know.
No, we're gonna do August because Kelly got to be there. I don't care because she gets everything done. She makes all the communications. So, sorry, Lene, we'll face chat you. Okay, we gotta have Kelly.
Lene, we love you too.
To Andrew's point, we could also try. Was it the 21st? Would be the next Tuesday if we want to stick with Tuesdays.
We're in Minnesota, people. We're in Minnesota. No.
You think it'll be too cold by then, Leslie?
September usually seems pretty
changing.
safe.
Yeah, it's changing. The temperature's changing. Haven't you not noticed?
Okay, I'm down for the 31st. I'm sorry if I made that complicated.
All right, we'll just have to have a cardboard cutout of Lene and take pictures with her.
So Lene won't be there on the 31st?
Correct.
I'll be on a plane during that time.
You're on vacation too?
Are you talking about the 31st of August or the 31st of September?
August.
August.
Okay.
I got
Okay.
a nephew getting married, so it's non-negotiable.
What if we put it off to the end of September? Everybody should be back from vacation by then.
You might have to wear a sweater.
You think so?
I don't think so, but
I don't think so either.
I don't know. And
If
I
99%
was okay
of people can do it, I say that's good enough. Like that's
right.
Yeah.
it's pretty
Why
rare.
we
that you
gotta
have
change
people-
the date? August 31st. Let's keep it moving. Let's do the next agenda. Trust building activity, developing group norms. Andrew, take it away.
Right. So this came up with how we want to conduct ourselves going forward, and some of this part was developed from the original task force in 2019. So I'm going to go through what kind of three phases of where we're at with things. So the original adoption was a list of 6 bullet points that I'll go through right now, and then additional ideas for leadership that came from the leadership meeting going forward, and then some suggestions for ground rules we want to add to that. And obviously we're self-governing here, so speak up right now and afterwards, and we're open to discussion after we go through some of this as well. So point 1 from 2019, if speaker's going too long, task force members can step in and ask for a 5-minute limit. If someone has more to say than time allows, offer to have them write it down and email after. If someone's triggered, don't avoid the issue. If time allows, pause and deep dive into the issue. If time does not allow, create a transformative justice process protocol to follow through after the meeting. Also, add time for agenda setting at the end of each meeting. Staff will email the task force and ask for agenda topics up to 2 weeks before the next meeting. Staff will opt for a conference call to set the agenda. We're going to start meetings with check-ins, part of announcements and updates. If writing letters, staff of the task force can volunteer to write, then the task force reviews, approves, and signs off on the letters. I feel like most of that has been adhered to. I think if we get to transition back to in-person meetings, I think a lot of this is easier in person than virtual. But those are the ground rules we came in with. Additional ideas from June 21st, 2021 Northside Green Zone Leadership Meeting is for adopting the agenda, accepting meeting minutes, having facilitator review the agenda and what happened last meeting, which I believe we've been doing. For check-ins, asking if mood was a color or weather pattern or flower is listed here, but I think what we've been doing is kind of breaking the ice, and that's the general concept for starting meetings. Have someone prepared to work with people who get heated, individually touch base with people, and maybe putting someone who's kind of the sergeant at arms. Setting boundaries on guest speakers. I think we can do a better job on this as well. Enabling us to frame the conversations, limiting guests who are coming in with their own agenda. They only have conversations with guests where there's an opportunity to influence and open into listening. I think that comes from kind of the presentations that we've felt we'd be getting rather than conversations. But leaving 5 minutes again at the end of every discussion to ask for input from folks who've been quiet. I think again, we're going to ask people to raise their hands as best as possible, and stepping in if their point is going on after 5 minutes, so everyone can be heard. Suggestions for people to think about and give us feedback on. that this is a public discussion, not a debate. The purpose here is not to win an argument, but to hear many points of view and explore many options and solutions. We want everyone to participate. You may be asked to share what you think, or we may ask for comments from those who haven't spoken. And I think it's always okay to pass when you're asked to share a comment, but we do want to hear from everybody. No one or two individuals should dominate discussion. Again, going back to just group participation. If you've already voiced your ideas, let others have the opportunity. When you speak, be brief and to the point. When speaking, I think it's we think it's a good idea to state your name and where you live. In a public meeting, it's helpful to know who's speaking and where they come from. Again, getting back to one person speaking at a time, refrain from a side conversation in the group setting. Pay attention to the person speaking, and if you think you'll forget an idea that comes to mind, write it down. Again, listen to and respect others' points of view. Do your best, take it upon yourself to understand the pros and cons of every option, not just those you prefer. Be as objective and as fair-minded as you can be. And again, at the end here, seek first to understand, not to be understood. So ask questions to seek clarification when you don't understand the meaning of someone's comments. So I know it's a lot to just kind of hear coming from my mouth, but I know there's a document out there to look through as well. And we're asking for people's feedback on the set agenda from 2019, what we've been doing present, and some extensions of present ground rules we have in place. Any thoughts or questions just immediately as we go through it?
Michelle? Oh,
Michelle?
sorry, Michelle, your hand
Oh,
raised.
no, sorry, Michelle raised her hand formally. Go ahead, Michelle.
Michelle, you're
Mute.
One of the things that we do with, sorry, I'm getting distracted by my dog here. One of the things that we do at a couple of my other meetings is have an open space at the end of our meetings where, you know, if there are either tensions that need to be worked out or, you know, positive things that people want to say about what happened at the meeting, that's a space for that. So anyway, I'm just adding that as a additional idea if we're able to add ideas right now. Thank you.
Lene?
I don't think this has been as big of a problem since we went virtual, but I think you can all remember when we've had meetings where there was no adherence to the time schedule, and like, not to be a buzzkill, but if we do actually want to get serious about timing in the 5 minutes, then we would actually need to designate someone to be the stopwatch master and kind of track all that, because we have had meetings where, you know, someone will give extended comments for 15 minutes and then it's the time to leave and we haven't gotten through the agenda. So the choice is, do we stay and some people have to get home, or, you know, so I'm all for doing the timing, but we would have to actually, instead of saying, like, I think it's been about 5 minutes, we would have to probably keep it very fair and democratic and actually time each speaker if we went that route.
Leslie?
I agree with her. As far as Michelle's suggestion, I kind of get that, but then we're talking about overtime. And we're very passionate people. Let's face that fact. But having a clock and a timer and someone calling on that would be a perfect ideal. So in that way, everybody gets a chance and we can continue to move forward in our meetings. So I agree with that suggestion, but I disagree with, no offense, Michelle's, because of the time. That's all.
Sorry, team.
Andrew, is that you? The phone number?
Yeah, my computer didn't want to keep working the long 12-hour day here, so it's crapped out on me. But apologize, guys. I think that's the second time that's happened after speaking and opening up for questions.
No worries. Do you want me to keep going through and calling on
Yeah.
people?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Oh.
I'm getting rebooted on the computer. So.
Okay. Anybody else have anything to say about how the leadership team is doing in particular? How these meetings are going in particular? Do you feel like your talents are being used within the green zone? Do you feel like the meetings are going the way you want them to? Wow, I'm not used to no opinions in this group. How do people feel about us?
Oh, sorry. I was going to ask if anybody has any concerns with any of the suggestions that were proposed. So, you know, this third of ideas come directly from a University of Minnesota website. So it's not even necessarily that, you know, this is coming from Green Zone members saying we need to do this. They were just sort of like recommended best practices. If you like some, don't like others. We don't have to just keep adding to it. We can also take ones out that folks aren't comfortable with or just don't think is necessary.
Yeah, I just as going through them and looking at it kind of prior to the meeting, there are some that are a little bit repetitive. I don't think, you know, we need to relist some of the same things, but what I did want to ask before, you know, adding or removing or anything is just getting a feel for, does anyone feel like any of this is unreasonable or is just kind of overstepping? That's that was one thing I did want to ask, is just, does anyone really have a strong opposition to anything within this?
5 minutes is a long time. Not that I couldn't take, you know, I've been one of the people.
Amen.
So I would say
I
maybe
agree with you,
less
Roxanne.
than that. Okay, that's what's up.
I
And
agree with you,
I actually,
Roxanne.
I'm shocked that we didn't write these because I totally think that they were very relevant to issues and stuff we were having. I'm definitely, I'm a big proponent of, I mean, like, I'm an advocate for people to be able to share who aren't necessarily a member or a part of a council. Like, I'm like that there should always be some amount of time designated to community, you know, either in the beginning or the end, and, you know, maybe in the middle. It doesn't matter to me. But I think that one of the things that I've been really frustrated is with when we allow like manipulation and people sabotaging. You know, everybody has an opinion on how someone could sabotage something, but there are like actual, you know, like gaslighting and things that have happened, and I've just been like, I think that these rules are they're very strong, so I don't even think we'll have any issues if we actually follow them. Or, you know, we won't have that many issues. So thank you for whoever put this together.
I
Vanessa?
also want to add, and not to interrupt anybody, but I think that before we do our meetings and we have guests, that we should let rules be known so they're not disrespecting us, you know, and let it be known that they have to follow our rules too. You know, we can't really mute people and things like that, but we can let them know ahead of time our rules. And if they don't abide by our rules, we'll ask them to, you know, leave or, you know, something like that. But as far as the guests being disrespectful, I think we should have rules read before we have our meetings. So then that way they understand we're not going to play that disrespectful stuff to any of our members.
I think we should be able to mute them because I had an experience where it was okay for people to come in the green zones and speak. But when the tables were turned and we were having a conversation in their environment, They were very quick to mute us, whether or not we were arguing or not. So even if we were just asking a question about an outcome of something that they had said, I was muted right away, which I thought was very ironic. You know, like things need to be fair on both ends. So if the city can do it and city staff can do it, and this is technically a city community meeting, then we should also, I hope that somebody's job is to like mute when someone is coming on and you can tell it's something more than the topic at hand.
Question or comment just in response to that, I know the mute button is kind of we're virtual is probably our strongest weapon. I don't know that we got clarification. Kelly, do we have the ability to actually do that in Microsoft Teams?
Yeah, so in the meetings, the way that we're hosting them now, I don't have the ability to mute someone permanently. They can always unmute themselves. The other format like that the city council uses for their meetings, people are assigned either as presenters or attendees. So right now, if you open your show participants list, we're all, I think maybe it's participants, but so what I can do is make individuals attendees. And then I think I would have the ability to mute them permanently. So that's something that we could maybe play with. You know, if we do have, I think we would have to decide who we would want to designate as attendees versus participants. And maybe Julie and I can look into the Teams functionality, because while we could have our guests be attendees, I'm not sure if that would stop them from being able to like share their screens or do other things that they might need to do as presenters.
Prior share the screen or information to you, and you can display it and let them be attendees so we can unmute them when they want to get kind of funny with us.
Yeah,
Mr. Hanson, City Council. Let's be able to mute him. Our city planner.
I think we should be able to get people like some sort of, like someone said, you know, let them know the rules in the beginning. I don't know, Leslie, that might have been you or Vanessa, but that would be great to let people know ahead of time what the rules are and what we're allowing, and then also give them the chance. Like, look, if you come in, somebody got to be on top of that. Like, if you come in and you start talking, and you're not a member or whatever, it's not even time for you to speak like that, then I think we should ask them, you know, can you mute and wait to speak or something? And then if they don't, then mute them. Like, don't just mute them right away. You know what I mean? But just like, if they're not listening, then mute them.
Well, let's have Kelly be in control of that.
Yep, we can handle that as staff. Vanessa, what was your comment?
Well, I think most of the instructions or the things that you guys are asking questions about should be controlled by the leadership team and Kelly. And then my other comment is, I see the suggestions up there. What happened to the rules, the norms we already had in place? And then we had other things that we had said that we wanted to see in the meeting that's not in that top area. So I think it's part of this, we wrote them on individual papers, just like we did the things that we use when it come to putting proposals up that they met certain criteria or certain things from the work plan that we to cover. So that part should be in this as well, I think. And I think I agree with Roxanne, 5 minutes is too long. It should be reduced to 3 minutes at the most.
I guess my concern comes back to enforcement. You know, I think this is for presentations coming to us, and the verbiage around, you know, we want you here for a conversation and not a presentation. I like that idea. You know, how soon in advance can we get them to buy into that? You know, right before they are starting the meeting might be not enough time for them to really adhere to that. They might come in with a more of a specific plan than being able to change it right on the spot like that. But
I thought the 3 minutes were for individuals making comments on a presentation or something. I think if a person is coming for a presentation, it should state that it's a presentation before, and then that presentation should come to us before the day of the presentation. And then if we got questions that we want answered or them to speak on in the presentation, we should present them to them prior to them coming to us with a presentation. So when they come, they should cover those things in the presentation.
right.
Exactly.
Agreed.
That
Saying
eliminate a
it
lot
should
of
be
Who is
much
that?
way ahead of time than right when they're starting to talk. I think it needs to be
before we should like if they coming next month, this month we should have their presentation.
Can I say something? Didn't we do that with the city planners? And that's when we kind of got heated there. And they didn't even answer any of the questions. They kept voiding, talking about, well, we got jobs and all this other stuff. And they kept trying to do their presentation, even with Excel Energy. So even sending questions forward to it when they send their presentations, the only people that did comply to that was the pollution control. So I think sending the questions and let them know that we sent you a list of questions before they start speaking. Are you ready to prepare those while you give your presentation? I think certain questions should be asked, and so then that way they know what we expect from them. Does that make sense?
That's just what I just said. Same thing, Leslie.
And I just want to comment, sorry, Jackie, to interrupt you, that a lot of credit to how good the MPCA's presentation goes to Roxanne, who was able to have a conversation with them beforehand and be very clear about the expectations. Because I tried to do that with our CPED staff before the Upper Harbor Terminal presentation, and thought I was very clear about these are the questions that folks have. Please be direct and specific to responding. But obviously that was not the presentation that you all necessarily received. So I definitely think we can do our best with this. And then by sharing the ground rules in advance along with any discussion questions, then if we need to interrupt and say, you're not following the ground rules, I think it gives a good kind of backstop. Sorry, Jackie, go ahead.
No, that was actually ties into exactly what I was just about to ask, which was what could we do or the leadership team specifically do to make sure that these meetings are structured more like the joint meeting with MPCA instead of like the Upper Harbor Terminal meeting from earlier this summer.
I think they're both different meetings too. So like Kelly being kind of hard on yourself, because honestly, like it's different when it's like economics involved. More, I mean, not that MPCA doesn't, but it's like MPCA came with information, and then like, I mean, Upper Harbor Terminal, there's a lot of tension with that, and how CPED has, their history in our community. There's a lot of issues with CPED. The fact that it's an all-white kind of group often that has control over kind of what happens economically in our communities, like that is an issue. But also just the fact that when it comes to money and monetary things, it gets a little more complicated, and so, yeah. But yeah, I mean, thanks for the credit though, but it was two different things too, so.
I think the way that we did Kelly presented and Roxanne, it was the same thing. It's just people with attitudes, and it's like you people have no say, but we vote. We're running the city, and we don't care what you say. So it's just a disrespect level, and that's where I still want to get that that what is that development plan, who we are, and how we stand to get passed, and to bring in the city council and to finish that so we can be recognized. But then I seen Kelly did submit it to Kim. So I think that the more recognition that we get as a community, that we will be less ignored, regardless of how we speak or our emotions and feelings spill into these meetings. I just think that we need to be recognized as a committee and people that represent our north side, northeast, north side.
So for meetings like with Upper Harbor Terminal people, do you think that not the most we can do, but do you think the best plan of action is just to shut them down when things go wrong? Or is there something else we could do to be more proactive about it? Because I mean, as far as Kelly told them what to do and they didn't do it, there's not much we can do about that, but I would like to never have a meeting like that again.
And ask just for, oh yeah, sorry here. The ask to the group is also, you know, obviously the outside groups coming in and presenting to us, but how do we want to govern ourselves? Like when it is getting crazy, how can we reset? You know, what is the process that we can agree to come together so that it doesn't go completely off the rails and we can still be heard as a group? That's what I would like to come away from this meeting with, some general, you know, how can we do it? Yeah, I don't have the answer, but I want to figure something out so that, you know, coming out of a meeting where, go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I kind of get if we get emotional, I'm very emotional and want to talk. And I always say, I gotta mute myself because I know me and I'm getting pretty good at it where I don't have to do that. I just mute myself now. But I think if we do individually for our own health and our own well-being is to mute ourselves and scream and take a couple breaths like Jackie told us, this breathing method, and then come back to the meeting once we get control over us, because it's a matter of, we know we're going to make these people snap and this and that, and there's going to be tension, but white folks be snapping too now. They get up in fist fight. I seen it on some of the meetings. So I mean, we're very passionate people, but at the same time, I think it should be our own sole responsibility, or to text somebody on their phone, have our phone numbers, and say, hey, why don't you take a break? I think we should check each other when we're at that point, and not take offense when we do it to each other, you know, so then that way we can, sometimes we don't realize that we get that passionate because we are passionate, you know. I think, I don't know. That's just a suggestion.
Right. Yeah. I thank you for that. And what I guess I'm thinking about this coming into the meeting, like that's maybe a level set that I'd feel good coming out with, is just knowing that if we are trying to come back to some level of regroup, it's not out of any disrespect to anyone in the group or to anyone, you know, amongst each other. We got to come together and recognize, like, we're trying to do this together. We want to be heard. So thoughts, suggestions, open to hearing it.
Can I say something here? Part of the leadership committee is to keep the meeting moving forward and to try to cover as many, if not all, of the agenda items. So when someone is out of order, you let them know they're out of order, and you call for point of order to come back to where we're supposed to be. If they don't respect that, then we're going to have to ask Kelly to mute them. But you give them a warning. You let them be very professional about it. Excuse me, but we're at 3 minutes. Excuse me, what's your question here? Excuse me, what statement are you trying to make? If not, we're going to ask you to move forward. If not, then the next time we can't get you to stop, you will be muted. That's all, and bring us back to where we're supposed to be on the agenda.
Can we buy a blowhorn? That way we can blow it at him.
We could get a phone app of a little horn. Also, I think, Jim, you had your hand up for a second. Do you still have something to say?
well, I don't even know if I should say it, but I guess I'm gonna, and I say this with respect to everybody here, but you know, I know a lot of the people, you know, I work for CPED, so, and I think a lot of the things that are said about the city in CPED are fair, and so I'm not trying to dispute that. But I do know that my colleagues that were coming to present, I think, and I was actually a little shocked that Kelly would say that they didn't do what she said, because I felt like that meeting kind of went off the rails before my colleagues ever got to speak. And I think that they earnestly wanted to come and explain the process, but I felt like it's just like anything they would have said wasn't going to be welcomed very well. So I'm glad that we're doing these rules, but I think sometimes people that are city staff, you know, they have to have truth spoken to them. That's true, and they shouldn't be given a pass. That's true. But also, you know, they're just trying to make it through a meeting as well. And I think that was a really difficult meeting for anybody to have to give a presentation in. So I just feel like, you know, in fairness to them, I think they wanted to come and answer questions, and I think they wanted to. And sometimes their answer is, you know, the AUAR process, whether that's justified or not, is a discovery process. It's not an approval process. And so I think what they were trying to say was trying to explain that because they pointed something out in the AUR, it doesn't mean that they're endorsing it or improving it. Now, I'm not saying there aren't flaws with it or there aren't things that we should have commented on. And I think when you all wrote your letter, you did a good job of trying to approach it from that way. But I don't know what I'm saying. You know, I feel like you guys should be able to have whatever opinions you want, but I do think it's a really hard meeting to come into for people to talk to. And I think I think we have to find ways to speak that truth and to make our opinions known in a way that, I don't know, that it just isn't so difficult for a staff person, because I think that's a lot of times why city staff and people just don't want to do stuff like this. And we can say, well, that doesn't matter, that's their job, but you know, people are people, and that's one of the things I think we need to work on. So I don't think anybody came there. I'm not defending the Upper Harbor Terminal project. That's a whole different thing. I'm just saying I think the people that came there to present were trying to, in good faith, explain the process to you, and whether they did a good job of it or not is I guess people can disagree on that. But I know that, you know, they had asked me a little bit about what should we do and how should we do this. And so if Kelly gave them some instructions that they didn't follow, I guess I'm disappointed in that. But I don't think their attitude was, we don't like these guys and we don't care about them. And I don't think that at all. So I just want people to know that.
Well, the frustration was because the point of the meeting was not to get an update on what they were doing. The point of the meeting was for them to address the concerns that we had sent to them. So that's where my frustration came in. And that's why I think the MPCA meeting went well, because it was a conversation and they came there with the intent of having a conversation.
So I think that whoever made the suggestion of maybe putting questions in writing, I think is a good suggestion. I think just from my standpoint, when I think about the amount of stuff that I have coming at me every week, you know, even with my best intentions, sometimes you forget or you make mistakes. And I know Hillary, one of the people working on this, had 2 AUARs. One was the roof depot and one was the Upper Harbor Terminal. I think she was getting something like 1,000 emails a day. So, you know, I mean, that there's all, you know, I mean, it's just hard for people to find the time to, even when they're listening to people, listen well when they're having that amount of stuff coming at them. So I really think that whoever made the suggestion of facilitating discussion by having some written things saying these are the things we'd like you to have a response to, I think personally, if I was in that position, that helps me understand what I'm supposed to do for people better than maybe somebody explaining. And if Kelly did that and then they still didn't respond, and then that was a problem.
It was a written
certainly.
letter. We wrote a letter. It was in print.
Yeah.
But Roxanne has her hand up, so I think we should pass it to Roxanne.
I enjoyed listening to you, Jim. I think that's a lot to respond to. I'm not going to try to respond to it tonight because y'all know how I am, so it would go for a long time. But I appreciate your truth, and I hope that you appreciate, you know, our community's truth as well. I think there's a lot for CPED and us to have a conversation about. I'd be totally willing to have that conversation. I think, what's frustrating is I think the point where I know the shit hit the fan on that meeting was there was a remark made by the city, made by one of you, saying that you kind of had put all this work and did all these things that we had asked you to do. But a lot of times the city always takes credit for what the community pushed you to do, which we shouldn't have to push people to like acknowledge our psychological needs. But we often have to, which is very draining for us. Imagine how much Northside gets asked questions about what we want. And then we say that. And then decades go by and it's the same thing. And instead of having conversations with city that are holistic and realistic and really open to change, a lot of times it's like we're just getting talked to and we're getting the process told to us about what's going to happen. And it leaves very little room for us to imagine and to dream and to build things that we want. And so I think the frustration goes both ways. I know for me, I have a different communication style. It's very hard for a lot of people to to actually hear what I'm trying to say. And it's hard for me to communicate when I am frustrated. But I think the main thing that I had heard was like all these green zone principles or all these principles had been put forward and, here we are, we put them into the vote and it was voted for and then the committee happened after. And I tried to say, you guys are always taking credit for what community had to fight tooth and nail to get you to do. And it's unfortunate because nobody wants to go through litigation. Nobody has time to fight with y'all. Like nobody even, I don't even want that bad relationship with the city. I think that it's not helpful. It's not helpful because I'm already in an overburdened community. So I'm dealing with 20 of the things that my community is dealing with. And now I have to fight with the city when I've already shown that we're all trying our best here. So anyway, I spoke a lot, but I will just say thank you. And I think we all could do better. Intention is good, and running away from it or trying to make it more comfortable for white people or, maybe not particularly white people, but just trying to make it more comfortable for people in general is not necessarily the way that change comes about. But we do have to take care of our health and stress. And so I would just say, I don't know, do a lot of internal work and don't expect somebody to write the questions down for you because like Jackie said, we wrote a whole letter. And so all those things should have been answered. And if Kelly had met with y'all to tell you what the group was asking for, then maybe the staff should have been taking notes and writing those things down to make sure that they were prepared. And yeah, I mean, the Roof Depot and Upper Harbor, it's a lot. It's very similar. It's a very similar issue. So, instead of trying to run all over the place, we might be better off bringing the South Side and the North Side together to talk about the similarities of the process and how inequitable it is for both sides, instead of trying to fight through litigation and all that, because I'm not interested in doing that. But if you won't listen to me, then how could you be mad that I would use those tools to be able to communicate? So that's what I'll say.
Well, and I respect all that, Roxanne, and I guess I don't know if I'm communicating well. I wasn't necessarily, I wanted to try and say that I think all the things that you say and all of that makes sense. And yeah, I know from working on the North Side how people get tired of, there's always somebody like me coming in the room and saying, what do you guys want? And I know it's frustrating because people say, we've been saying what we want, So I guess I don't know if I'm communicating well. I wasn't trying to say that. I guess
we're humans. We're human.
I guess I was just trying to say if we're trying to figure out a way to and maybe and I do realize too that if you're always nice and you never raise your voice and you never take that style, then it's easy for people like me to just say, well, done with that meeting. So there's a time and the place for putting pressure on people. A lot of things would never happen if the community didn't do that. But I guess I was just thinking for something like, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted to say real quick is that y'all don't understand. My biggest frustration is we got philanthropy dollars out here. We got millionaires out here Then we got the city, the government, who initiates these conversations, and sometimes y'all make it worse, because then I got a Black woman who I know from my neighborhood who's all of a sudden defending you all instead of like realizing I'm her sister. Like, I've been out here with her fighting hard. Like, it doesn't make any sense that you guys don't notice sometimes you do divide and conquer. You participate in that. So when that occurred, when somebody steps up and tries to defend you all just to make you feel more comfortable, but throws daggers at me in the process, and then y'all sit there quietly the whole time, the millionaires sit there quietly, y'all sit there quietly. You should tell a person in a minute that, you can handle that conversation. It's okay. There's no reason for you to be, like white fragility about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all can take that, because the distress over here is way more than probably what you're feeling at work. I mean, like, we just need you to understand that we're all going through stress, and you're getting paid for yours. But like, a lot of us, ain't nobody paying me for the Upper Harbor Terminal work or the Northern Metals work. So that's my heart all into this. So it hurts me too. So I just wanted to say that. And then, so I'm sure we need to keep going.
Andrew?
Yeah, and thank you both. Again, I think this is an example of we want to keep things moving. I appreciate both points being made, and I'm not the one to say this is all fully understood by any means. I think part of this goes back to the origins of the Northside Green Zone, right? We're not elected officials. It is something that we are giving our input to people who are in these positions of power. But I think there's something to be said about, yes, we want to be heard, but it's something where, we're not the ones who actually get to write the rules. We can try and influence them as much as we can. And I think it's easier for me to say than do, but there's got to be a way where we can come back and get back to the point at hand, instead of chasing down these paths where we're not going to get heard if we don't come to a point and get something together where we can all agree, let's put this toward, let's all go towards the same action. So I think, the list that we have here as far as how we want to conduct ourselves, how we want to interact with each other, is something that it's going to take a lot of work for us to actually adhere to. But I think there's a lot of positivity in trying to get there. So maybe that wraps up kind of the ground rules of how we, of this section of the meeting. But I really appreciate, you giving us more insight as to where you're coming from, from the city side, from the community side. As far as the green zone side, I want to continue to focus on us coming together for a clear message when we're engaging with some of the people who are in power.
Thank you, Andrew. Any other comments on that? So we're going to move forward, and it's a proposal about what we're going to do with the leftover money besides food. Kelly had sent out an email for suggestions and proposal forms, and I don't know where we're at on that. And she also sent out a list of what happened in 2019 to 2020. Is there any way, Kelly, you can pull that up so people
Yep.
can see the
Do you want me
suggestions?
to pull up the list of
Yeah,
what we've
of
funded
what-
previously?
Right.
Yep, I can pull that up in just a second.
Has anybody submitted any other suggestions? I know I did.
Yep, we have 4 submissions.
Would you care to share that with us?
Yep. So first I will show what we've done before. Do you want me to increase the font size? I'm not sure how this is showing up on your screens. Increase, okay. So the total amount of funds that we started with was 40,000, and this was back in fall of 2019. We have $6,100 left, $6,100 left. So there was an admin fee because the funds went to the public policy project to be able to put the money out a lot easier than what the city can do. We were able to kind of circumvent the city procurement process. One of the first thing was a plant-based food business promotion with Coco and Lala. So there was almost $7,000 that went towards that. There was also some photography and videography done both at that event and other events by DA Bullock. And so those amounts show up in different places. There was a large event, the Northside Climate Reality Project, that there was a variety of activities related towards advertisement, the food. One of the facilitators, and so the total amount of that was about 3,500. Then healing kits that included solar chargers, total about 5,500 went towards that. Then there was healing circles. There were several, let's see, I think this funded 2 healing circles. Yolanda's not here to talk about those, but I know she's gotten additional funding from starting those off to be able to continue those over the past year. So each one was about 3,400. And then, so all of that happened in 2019. Well, I guess the healing circles went into 2020. But then the 2 things that the task force funded really in 2020 was some initial supplies for Family of Trees initiative. So $4,000 was provided for that. And then air conditioning for the Roots Birth Center, and $3,000 was provided for that. So that's where the money has gone thus far. And again, there's $6,100 left. So then I will show what has been submitted so far for the proposals.
While you're pulling that up, can I ask what happens when the money runs out? Like, is there any plan for getting more money, or is it like we're gonna have to apply for grants?
So I have submitted a request for funding for 2022. And as this is sort of a, this hasn't been announced yet, but it looks like we will actually have some funding this fall to do some green zone projects. So I actually have a meeting tomorrow with my supervisor and Minneapolis Foundation, because we're hoping that we can co-promote the Minneapolis Climate Action Racial Equity Fund, which is done through Minneapolis Foundation. And there's like money for large projects, like up to $50,000, that we would co-promote. Some specific green zones community-based projects which would be up to like $5,000. So, and I can't remember what the total amount is that we have. But I think we would promote it, cross promote it between Northside and Southside Green Zone. In 2019, Northside, Southside Green Zone each had their own separate pots of funds that they dealt with differently. Northside Green Zone did more projects that task force members led. Southside Green Zone issued a call for proposals and had community members submit ideas. So I think this would be more of sort of a combination of that. It would be kind of a call for proposals, but obviously task force members and Southside Green Zone council members can submit their ideas for projects as well.
I got a question. I have a question. So like the Coco and Lala production, is that still in business?
Michelle maybe could speak to that more. I mean, they are in business, but we only provided them the funds for that one time.
Okay, and Okay, so when you provide funds for the one time, was that was just promotion, advertisement, and things like that? $6,000 for advertisement? Is that where that money go? Because each one of these things I'm going to have questions about. And it's like the healing kits. Are there any healing kits or any solar charges left? And were they all distributed? So my questions is things like that when I see this. I mean, I get the healing circle, people come together, kumbaya, and we all talk and have that and maybe some healing stones. I don't know what was given there, but I just looking, that's just the economics in me and finance. What, is there anything left? Are these things still running? Any profits? And are people happy about the projects and any comments and things that happen from that? Because I do see gift cards. So I'm just curious about the proceeds and how they were allocated, but how
Yeah.
any profits.
Yes. So for the kind of reporting on each of these varies a little bit. I can send you more details on the reporting of success from the Taste of Northside event and the variety of promotions that Coco and Lala worked on. And I mean, this document also notes that former task force member Princess was involved in that in addition to Michelle. And then with the healing circles and the family of trees and the healing kits, I think one measure of success that I really see in it is that the Green Zone funds kind of acted like a startup funds, and those initiatives have gone on to expand and get more funding from other sources, primarily from foundations, but also from university partners and other sources. I think even some government funds through Hennepin County for the family of trees and a variety of things. So I think that has been definitely a measure of success for me that may not be like documented somewhere. But I think that's an important question as we go into another potential round of funding. What does success look like for you all for these projects? What would you want to kind of ask of any proposers for what kind of
Yeah,
like the
because I'm not connecting healing with Hook's fried chicken. I'm sorry. That's just me looking at it in a healthy sense and how things go. So I don't know. I know I said before I was a member that people have a tendency to get Black money and it doesn't go into our community because you put African there. And no offense to you, Michelle, but I'm gonna call you on that because you wanted to do a garden over Northeast, but you wanted the word African in there. And I said, what's going to make it African? And you said something about okra or some kind of vegetable. And I wasn't knocking it, but I just don't get that funds should go somewhere because somebody puts the word African, American, or Black in there. And that's how it goes. And again, Northeast Minneapolis used to be one of the racist part of towns, but that just kind of babbled me in the beginning when I first sat in one of your meetings. So my thing is about the monies. Is there profit? I mean, not well profit as well as any of these items left over. And is there movies that we can watch this project? And is it being displayed of how things are? And hopefully Lars' podcast is still continuing. I don't know. But that's just my questions, just for future and looking at this list. And that's just on an economical sense, thinking about money and where it should go. That's all.
So this is Michelle. I just want to really quick pop in here and say I've never said that Edible Boulevards is African American because of okra. So I'm not exactly sure where that came from, but it's about people, and that's what it's about, connecting people in our green zone neighborhoods to people who have been living in food apartheid policies, that have been subjected to those food apartheid policies for decades. So I'm not sure where the misunderstanding came but I wanted to verify that because that's a huge
Picking up
misunderstanding.
Michelle.
Sorry, my
Oh, it's
dog
okay,
was
I'm just
barking
telling
right
you.
at.
Yeah, so
I just
maybe,
wanted to clarify the misunderstanding about okra and African American because that is not true. I just wanted to say that it is, it's about people. It's about bringing gardens and teaching people self-sustainability in our green zone neighborhoods. The people that need their the people that, and there are people that already know the skills. And so we provide some of the resources to the people who already have the gardening skills. But yeah, just trying to be a resource in areas that have been subjected to our policies, our food apartheid policies. So I just
No,
wanted to
Michelle,
clarify.
it was, let me say this. It was for a plot to do a garden and you were using the word African American. And I'm just saying it stuck out and I asked that question. You named a vegetable, okra, or some green or something. And it did stick out to me because I was floored about the money. And I think Miss Vanessa commented about the plot and you went into details about it. And I was just kind of curious about how the money was going in the green zone and how people, not just you, but people in general use different terminologies just to get funding to represent a community and the money doesn't go there. Like we get less than 3% of the environmental justice money that's allocated to the United States. And we are the last man on the phone pole. Unfortunately, our community is not totally Black, as people want to label it. And I didn't mean any offense. I was just saying the wordage. That's it. So can we move forward? Because no offense, we got 15 minutes left.
yeah, no, I think those are really good points, Leslie, and anyone who wants to volunteer to be on the review committee for, those future proposals, but also as we consider what's being proposed, the 4 proposals that we received for the remaining $6,100, like keeping that in mind. Or is this, kind of, like fake witty is the terminology that I've heard use. Is it just using fancy language? I mean, City of Minneapolis, we're brilliant at that. We can say all the right things and do all the wrong things. So, or at least not follow through on the right things. So I appreciate that point. Yeah, with the remaining amount of time, I just wanted to kind of quickly go through the proposals. So the first one was submitted by Joanne. So the project would be working with community members for environmental justice on developing outreach to neighborhoods regarding environmental emergency preparedness. What is the problem? Lack of access to information and resources during emergency situations. What's the proposed solution? Organize community into connected groups that can relay information and provide assistance. It addresses green zone goals and is connected to a green zone work plan action. So yes, on both of those. The next one was, and I also realized after I created this form and started receiving responses, I didn't ask people to submit how much money they wanted for these. So that will have to be a separate conversation. The second one was submitted by Leslie, called Green Zone on the Billboards. To communicate to North and Northeast, the solution would be advertising on billboards. And then does this meet one of the Green Zone goals? Yes. And then is it within the Green Zone work plan? Yes. Related to community awareness and education. The next proposal was submitted by Michelle for edible boulevards. So the problem being a lack of fresh produce in green zone neighborhoods. The solution is self-sustaining boulevards and our gardens on the boulevard. So funding would be specifically for participants in Northside green zone neighborhoods who'd like to participate, but they are have neighborhood associations that are not currently partnering. So is this currently a goal? And in the work plan, yes and yes. The final one was submitted by Yolanda, and the project name is COVID Gangs and Healing Circle. The problem is African American continues to be the largest unvaccinated community during COVID. Gun violence, domestic violence, and gang violence are also number 3 in the country in Minnesota. Outreach to gangs regarding COVID and psychoeducation is not being addressed by any preventative effort. Regarding psychoeducation to this population is necessary to close relational activities that occur in this population. So the proposed solution would be to provide education and safe events for individuals for vaccination and interventions related to COVID and other health concerns. It's related to the green zone goal, yes, and a work plan item, yes. Since Yolanda is not here tonight, I won't be able to ask her how much she was going to be requesting for this.
Is there some information, just crossover from the previous funding projects that can be attributed? Like, is there enough money for all 4 of them, or is this, how many of these do you think we can accomplish with that 6,000? I'm not quick enough with math or computers to do all that.
Yeah, so the previous Healing Circle events were would take about half the budget. And I'm not sure how much billboards cost. I'm actually wondering, I think one of the working groups might have done some research on that already.
I have the information.
Yeah.
I think I submitted, and I believe I submitted it, but I'm looking for the email that I got the information on.
Okay. And then Michelle, I'm not sure how much you were looking for edible boulevards.
1,200 would be great.
And then, Joanne, did you have a funding amount in mind?
I currently do not.
I'm with CMEJ, so we don't.
Thank you, Roxanne.
Yep, I'm like, anything would help, I suppose. I pay the young people $50 an hour, so whatever. I mean, that 1,500 could go towards anything. We spend a lot of money pretty fast, but I'm also, yeah, so whatever.
Thoughts on how to proceed with the suggestions? I mean, is this something, do you want to put together like a review board, Kelly, or what was the process in the past for allocating?
So the process in the past was basically the whole task force just kind of agreed to the different funding amounts. So in 2019, the working groups who were developing the content for the work plan brought forward their proposals for funding, and then the task force voted to move forward with it. Similarly, in 2020, when there was the couple of projects that were proposed, the Family of Trees and I think Healing Circle's Family of Trees and Roots Birth Center went through in 2020. Again, those were brought forward by a task force member, and the whole task force voted to approve that. One thing we could do is, since there isn't a timeline specific to the remaining $6,100, we could wait and kind of add that to the total amount for this, upcoming funding availability from city funds, and just kind of wait, have an extra $6,100 in that decision-making process for the larger pot of funds, knowing that those $6,100 would be specifically spent on Northside projects. So it's kind of up to the group if you want to make decisions now on some projects, or if you want to wait until there's this larger call for proposals that would, again, that call would be up for projects up to $5,000. So yeah, totally up to the group to decide.
Lene?
Oh, I was just gonna say, maybe you covered this, but it got really loud in my house. Don't forget to save off a little bit of money for the August 31st.
Michelle?
The garden decision would be really helpful now, because we want to try and get the gardens in for a second round of crops. So just wanted to put that out there if possible. Thank you.
Question to the group, but would it be helpful for, and I don't know if, with the billboard necessarily how we pick where that goes or if how much of a choice we get in that, but just with edible boulevards, would it give people more comfort knowing specifically where some are and where those are going, or is that something that still needs to be worked out, Michelle? Or just curious if that's something that maybe adds more weight to, its urgency level.
So there were a couple of people that I met at the McKinley event that were really interested. So I did send out the applications yesterday, and I have not checked today as far as how that goes, but there's also someone in Hawthorne that's interested, someone in Harrison that's interested, and then a couple, yeah, I think those four are the ones that I've met personally, and then sent something out to a larger group today. So just kind of waiting for the applications to come in.
So can I ask about the edible garden? How much per yard or plot per person are you looking at spending?
So how much per yard? Is that what you asked?
Yeah, because you're going to like in front of my house in my billboard, and and then you might go to Roxanne's or somebody else. So my question is how much per yard or how much per boulevard money are you plan on spending on each?
Yeah, so
Does that make sense?
So if it is not a raised bed, and I only figured it out if it was not a raised bed, it would be $151. So I'm asking for up to 8.
Are any of the other 3 proposals, well, I guess we won't know about Yolanda's, but are the other 2 proposals, is there a time crunch on those?
I just met maybe about 8 young boys on the block today and gave them all my card and told them that if they was interested in working, and they was like, well, do you hire felons? And I was like, yeah, I definitely want felons. So, or, people with felonies. So, I mean, I would love to have some money to respond to them fast, being that I was already having a conversation that, it ain't it standing out on the corner at this gas station on Lowry and Logan, and that I would rather y'all. I told them I would give them a little EJ tour, and then if they wanted to fuck with me, they could. If they didn't, they could make that decision. But yeah, I would love to have a little extra just money that just I could test out to see if they're interested. My goal is to try to get people on the block to join in, and maybe I can convince them that since the environment is a $1 trillion industry, that maybe they would economically be interested until, they're interested on another level.
Right. Is it realistic to just split up 1,200 for each one of these proposals and then wait for that additional funding to go further? I mean, does $1,200 move the needle on each 4 of these? That leaves some money over just for reserve or whatever, but just curious if that type of proposal would be of interest to anybody.
for my proposal, I think 1,200 would be very helpful. And since we don't know what emergencies are around the corner, it'd be helpful to do it sooner than later.
Yeah,
Leslie, did you have an email?
We could talk about whatever you were hoping to do with that.
Well, my thing with the billboards, it would be on the north side and northeast. It'd be 2 different billboards. And I thought that maybe as a group, we could do the wordage. That way, the people on the northeast knows that we exist and that we're there for environmental issues and they can reach out to us, as well as the north side. Because passing out pieces of paper and knocking on people's doors and things like that in our communities is not safe, not only because of COVID, but we don't know what elements we might face knocking on a door. And I think that a billboard, people would see it and kind of remember it, and it's 30 days. And I forgot the price, and I've been looking diligently, and I thought I had it on my proposal exactly how much both of them would cost. And I just thought it would take time, and it would be in cute community engagement, even though it's not basically on the ground working per se with people, but just acknowledging that we're here for, the correction of the injustices that we do incur on both north and northeast. That's it. I'll take that and wait for the rest of the money. And hopefully as a group and a team, we can come up with some wordage to let them know we exist.
Right, and that's where, I think maybe that's a longer plan, but just to fairly break up kind of what we do have, that kind of leaves whatever, 12 for each one of these proposals, 12 for the group, as a whole, and then hopefully that money comes through quick. Just trying to think of how to evenly distribute.
Any other questions? We haven't heard from Akia this meeting, who is my introvert point of reference. Nothing?
No further comment at this point, but I feel like I agree with what everyone's been said so far, and especially with Andrew's last comment about pretty much funding all of these. Also, like great ideas, and then if we can fund them now, and if they are time sensitive, that'd be nice. But then we could always wait for more funding later in the fall, like I was mentioned earlier as well. But I'm feeling pretty good with these proposals.
Can we make a motion to approve $1,200 for each?
Make a motion to approve each proposal at the amount of $1,200.
Second.
Is there any more discussion?
I want everybody in the group to know the billboards would be a team effort. It'd be all of us to say what wordage and how you feel the community needs to communicate, how we should communicate to the community on the billboards. Thanks, guys.
Just for clarification, could we list the proposals again? I know that Kelly put 4 in the chat. Are those the 4, or is Roxanne's a 5th? And are we proposing any money for the August 31st meeting? Just to clarify that before voting, maybe.
So it's not my proposal. Joanne didn't tell me she was proposing it. But then she told me, not too long ago, and I asked her, I said, well, did you put CMEJ on there? And she didn't clarify whether she did or not. So it's not my proposal.
I couldn't remember.
Joanne's been definitely supportive to this work every day at the garden and just in general with working with the young people that I work with. So Joanne is technically on CMEJ too. So this is her proposal and I want to give the floor. Yeah.
I gotcha. Thank you. I just wasn't sure if what you were talking about with the guys you had talked to, if that was separate or the same as Joanne's.
I always try to combine issues. So we got people out here who need money and then they're just out there. And I figure if we try to engage them more with stuff we're doing, if they find it interesting, they'll stick along. If they don't, they won't. But I mean, you got to try. And that's how I think it's important. But I don't know. Joanne also has been volunteering, giving all her free time away. So I don't know what we had planned on doing exactly. But I just met those kids today. and gave them all my numbers. So if they call me, it would be nice to be like, you know what, we just got some extra money. So, but
Great, thanks. Just wanted to clarify that.
I got a
and
question
then-
about that. Are the kids gonna have to fill out W-4s and stuff
Nope.
like that?
Not at all.
It's 7 o'clock, so I'm gonna cut this one short. And I was gonna say that the meeting for the food for next meeting is not a part of this motion. So
No,
it's just
but
proposals.
it does leave, so basically, my understanding is, Andrew, you divided 6,100 by 5, so it's 1,200 for the 4 proposals, and there's approximately 1,200 left, which would provide enough for the food and probably have a little bit remainder, which we could, throw in with the proposals coming, call for proposals coming this fall.
Exactly. Sorry about that is exactly what I was thinking. And I don't know how much for food for this type of thing. I was thinking, I mean, what, a couple $100?
Yeah, it'll be much less than that.
So was thinking there would
If
be
you go
left
to a-
over for that,
Can
after
we
that.
rent canoes? Canoes?
Put it
Depends
in
on
writing.
the
Put it in
location.
writing.
Put it under. Okay, so should we vote?
Yes, I can call roll if there's no other discussion. All right, so first up, Leslie.
Can't you just do all in favor and then whoever abstains and says nays? No?
Nope.
We can do it quick. We got
Gotta
this.
have a voice vote.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Leslie. Akia,
Yes.
Andrew,
Yes.
Jackie,
Yes.
Joanne,
Yes.
Lene,
Yes.
Michelle,
Yes.
Roxanne.
Yes.
Did I miss any voting members? All right, that motion is approved and moves forward. I will connect with each of the individuals as along with James Trice, who will be able to get the funds out. I did have a few announcements, but looking at time, I can send those again via email. So you've all heard me mention, I think, the Community Air Monitoring Project. This is a follow-up from our group meeting. Let me know if you're interested in being part of an initial conversation. We'll also probably have the city come back for further conversation at the joint meeting with Southside Green Zone on October 5th. But let me know if you want to be part of that before then. We're also moving forward with the presentation to City Council. So work plans are finally going in front of City Council. If you want to either, I know, right? If you want to either help with the presentation, which I did send a draft out, a link to it, so putting it together, or actually helping to deliver it to the city, especially if you had a role in developing the work plan, please let me know. That will probably be happening in September, early September. And then we have been talking, one of the ideas that came out of, I think, one of the joint meetings in the spring is an idea that Michael Cheney proposed, but kind of seems to have grown legs, is the idea of like a green zone summit or a green summit, where it would be not only Northside Green Zone, Southside Green Zone, but also probably the Food Policy Council, the Community Environmental Advisory Commission, and potentially outside organizations or EJ leaders coming together. And it would be like end of this year, really next year is kind of the timeline we're thinking. But anyway, if anyone wants to be involved in helping to plan that, please also reach out to me. Early September, we will have a sort of an initial planning call on that. So I will send this all out via email again. I just wanted to also share it verbally.
Thanks, Kelly.
Thanks, everyone.
All right.
Is that the meeting? Are we done here?
Congrats, those getting the funds. Way to put your plans in motion.
Thank
Awesome.
y'all. Let me know if you want to come out and talk to some of these young people and hope and maybe give them some of your green zone wisdom with us.
Start thinking about billboard plans, babies. Start thinking about what we want to let the community know about what we do.
I think we should do a green zone
Thank
calendar.
you, everybody.
Thanks,
All right.
everyone.
I'm out of here. Bye, guys.
Yeah. Guys, stay safe till we meet again.